Okay, let's take you down. Well, greetings, everyone. Let me put a little light on the situation here. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Uh, this evening, we're going to do some things a little bit different on tonight's program. I found two organizations right here within the city of San Diego that are actually doing things to help uh, the homeless and to beautify our city using two rather different methods. Uh, Unfortunately, Jennifer will not be able to be with us tonight, who is going to be our second guest talking about University Heights. She had a family matter that she had to deal with. But two gentlemen that caught my attention run an organization called Clean I Loves San Diego. And I'm sure Stephen will correct me if I'm wrong about any information here. But I was doing my usual kind of browsing, and one of the sites that I go to is called Next Door, and it's mostly about your neighbors, people that live in neighborhoods close to you, and there's uh, a lot of good feeling stuff, more or less. Lost dogs. People talking about moving into different neighborhoods, things like that. And then, of course, there's the usual situation, where everybody talks about the homeless, high crime, and deteriorations of their neighborhood. So when I saw this article about Clean I Love San Diego, and I was reading the biography of these two men, Mr. Stephen Fong and Jose Fuentes, um, I decided to dig a little further. And it seems these two gentlemen have started a program cleaning up different neighborhoods uh, within San Diego, and they're doing it on their own dime. But let's before I start trying to tell the story. Stephen is here. Let's talk a little bit to Stephen. Greetings, sir. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Hi.
Uh, um, I was looking at your bio before we start talking about your organization. Because when you were on Channel 8, you were very open about your background. And it was the Channel 8 story was actually what kind of gravitated me towards you. But as I was looking at your background, I saw some similarities there, to be quite frank. You were talking about how you had been incarcerated as a teen. Well, tell us your story.
I grew up in Pomona, in LA County. I've been in and out of the jail system since I was a teenager. Never could hold a job. I never had a job for more than a week. From when I was a teenager all the way to 2020 when I got out the feds. And this was in 2020, and right before COVID lockdown, I was in a halfway house and I landed a job at the shipyards, and I worked from 2020 all the way to December. Um, Actually, a little bit before December of 2022, around actually October, I relapsed, and I turned myself into a program so I won't so my coworkers won't see me the way I was. Um, I felt I was gonna. I never held a job for that long, and I had a lot of pride in my work. So I didn't want no one to see me, so I turned myself into a program.
Okay, now I saw where you said that you lost your job in January due to a 2018 fraud conviction.
Yeah. So while I was at the program, I took that time to um try to use my commercial license because I have a commercial Class A license that I got in 2016. So I used that time to go ahead and look for maybe a more cushier job than what I was doing at the shipyards. I landed the MTS job and I was doing training from December 23rd to 2022. I started training, and they released me. They put me on administrative leave in maybe 3 weeks after that, 2 days away from me doing my DMV test. Uh, they put me on administrative leave for the federal charge in 2018. It was a fraud charge.
So, MTS, if you're not out here in San Diego, is part of the transit system, the public transit system, bus as well as the trains that we have out here. Am I correct? Is that's who you're talking about when you say MTS?
MTS, yeah, the bus system, and
Okay.
I was happy to be there too because that was another way for me to give back to the community also. Because in 2020, when I was in halfway house, I took the bus everywhere. I took the bus to work. I took the bus everywhere, and I felt, man, I was so happy to land that job because like now I get to be that person driving everybody else to where they gotta go, where they gotta work. I was happy there. It was a good environment. So it was kind of devastating for me to get released. Before I even could get my passenger endorsement on my license too, they wouldn't let me finish it. It was only 2 days away. I was already scheduled for the DMV when they released me.
Yeah. As I said, I've been in kind of somewhat similar situations. Of course, many years ago. But I was a part of the federal system in 1972, and then they had similar programs like when you come out, they give you a job and things like that. I guess similar to what you were working in the shipyard. Uh, but uh, when you go to MTS, is that an at will employment?
What do you mean at will?
Um, Usually companies are I used to work for Rouse,
Yeah.
and they have what they call an at will employment, which means that the employer can get rid of you at any time without having to give an explanation as to why. Now, you said in your case they used a 2018 conviction, but was there a line on your employment that asked whether or not you had uh, you had a felony conviction?
So when I applied, from what I, because I'm new to all this, getting jobs and all that.
I understand.
So yeah, so when I applied to it, I just put everything that I knew how to do, my commercial license, and for me, in my opinion, I've been working the last 2.5 years. I've never done that in my life, so I was doing good in my eyes, So, and I'm a hard worker, but the requirements were to pass the drug screening, pass the physical, and pass the background check. So they were gonna do it anyway. So I didn't let them know about it. No, because it was around 5 years ago. So it was like because the background check goes by the conviction date, and they gave me all the paperwork and all that when they released me, when they put me on administrative leave. So I didn't. I was from what I know, you don't have to tell them none of that until they go for it later. You know, the background check. So I'm not sure. I don't
Yeah.
know how all that
So
works.
so what you do in that particular case, or at least what I did in the past, is put down when they ask for that, I simply put down in that space, will explain at interview.
Yeah, they didn't ask for it. They didn't
Yeah,
ask for.
I'm saying, since they didn't ask for it,
Yeah.
or but sometimes you might want to have someone go through your paperwork just to see, because you are you do you have unemployment at this particular time?
Right now, I was waiting for my unemployment for a few months, and it finally came in.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it finally came in.
okay. But I found when to continue the story, when they passed the three strike law, I already had four strikes, so I was in a very similar situation as you were. I had never had a real job, always been involved in the street life, and but in my case, drugs. I sold drugs. I didn't take drugs, so it was a little bit different. But when I found myself in that particular situation, what I did was I became a chef, and I tried to find an occupation that let me use the same uh, uh, I use the same things in my job and in my employment that I used when I was in the street, which was my creativity. I was able to hustle, uh, you know, uh, and I always wanted to get better, like it seems like you do. So uh, I, I commend you on that. But uh, yeah. While uh, while you have your unemployment, try to either look on the internet and see some of the opportunities that are available to people that are incarcerated, or people that have been in substance abuse programs. Tell us a little bit about the program, because it seems like that's where you met your partner, right?
Yeah, I met him at a place called the Wayback House in Golden Hills, and it wasn't NA. It's not NA. It's not AA. It's not any of those. So what they do at the program, it worked for me. They didn't take our phones. I came in and I held my phone, so I kept in contact with my family, and they promote family. So I was never like they have a 2 week blackout only, and after 2 weeks, I get to go out at a certain time and come back at a certain time for the groups. So they teach the science part of addiction, and the NA and AA and the smart meetings. They come in the evening time. They take us in the van to wherever we want to go. They let us choose how we want to move forward with our addiction. You know, they're not pushing religion or nothing on us. So that helped me a lot because I had an issue with all that stuff. You know, I don't. So that they gave us a choice how we want to run it. So I went to smart meetings. It's a new type of program. It's like it's not NA, it's not AA. It uses the same concepts, but it just teaches the science part of it.
Bill,
You
do you
know.
have some questions that you wanted to ask?
Sure. So you mentioned where you grew up and how you grew up and things like that. And you hear this all the time when you're growing up. When you're the friends that you're with and things like that. They say you don't have to tell me who you are because I can look to the two people on this side of you, the two people on that side of you, and you're the average of those, right? Those group of people. Were there things that happened to you while you were young, while you were growing up, that you feel maybe pushed you or directed you in such a way that you found yourself dealing with, the court system, dealing with finding yourself on that side of everything, and then trying to find a way to find your way back? Or is this something that happened to you not because of your youth, because of your upbringing?
So in Pomona, we grew up really poor. Everybody, all of our parents, like in the apartment building, the Asians there, all of our parents, they had to go to work.
Right.
So we was walking ourselves in a group to kindergarten, to first grade, to second grade, and we had to go in a group because there's a lot of Mexicans there and they were mess with us.
Right.
So we walked ourselves to school. We came back home to no parents at all, and I guess if people hear about it these days, it's illegal. But our parents had to do what they had to do. So we came back home, and it was just us kids in the apartment running around with no shoes on until they came home and fed us and put us to sleep. So and those guys, those all my friends that we walked to school together with, we became a gang.
Right.
And everybody around me was we turned into gang members. And for me, I got real deep into like getting in trouble was not because of the gangbang, was because I was trying to just fit in. I was like the first one to be like, I'll drive the stolen car, I'll hold the gun, so I could prove myself.
Right.
So everybody was just like maybe like 2 or 3 years older, but they were the ones I wanted to be like.
Right.
And it was like that until I was like 18, 19, until I hit the county, and my whole world changed. It was my whole world changed. It was like, okay, the gangs were out of the picture now. Now it's race. Now I gotta stick with my enemies because they're the same type of people, and it's like a whole different thing now. So the gangbang, I grew out of it pretty quick. But the getting in trouble was all from drugs. Like I can't imagine doing anything that I did. Every time I was arrested, I was high on meth. I wouldn't, not being high, I can't imagine doing anything crazy like that. Like like when I'm not high, all I think about is helping people, dude. Like that's like something that really like it really it helps me to help others like a lot. It helps me a lot.
Right.
Now,
And
one of the things that I found is that because of our background, our prison record, or being incarcerated, or people's perception of you as a felon, uh, people tend not to look at you in that particular light as wanting to help or wanting to enlist your help because of fear that you might what's the word, fall victim to
recidivism.
recidivism,
Yeah,
right?
recidivism.
Uh, you know, uh, you know, like you said, you had a relapse, but that doesn't change your character. You still want to help people. Do you find people looking at you uh, in that more in the light of being an ex-con, or being in a person who wants to give back to their community?
At this point today,
Yes.
oh, people don't look at me as an ex-con no more. Like the from the support I'm getting from everybody, I'm meeting a lot of people that I won't ever be around in my addiction or in any type of other type of life. Right now, people trust me. Um, they're helping me. My living room I have a stack of Amazon packages that I haven't opened yet because they're sending me supplies. Um, they're giving me side work when I need it. I'm going to their houses. They're meeting me up. It's like they don't see me as, I don't think they see me as a felon. I don't see myself as a felon right now. I don't. It's my whole mind frame of how I used to look at myself is totally different right now.
Okay.
It's totally different.
So what made you make that change? What was it? An event? Was it meeting your partner? What made you want to make that change? Because I found until I wanted to make a change, I couldn't make a change. I fell back into the same old rhythm and the same old things in the hood, so forth and so on. Where you like you said, like you don't even perceive yourself in that light anymore. What was the event or what was it that brought about that change in you?
So before last year, before I relapsed, me and my wife took me, kind of forced me to go out and volunteer to go clean up some stuff with the group called I Love a Clean San Diego. So um when I cleaned up with her with these groups, I felt that I found out that I liked helping out the nature and people. And then when we were cleaning somewhere in Spring Valley, um, these two old people were on horses and they're like, "Hey, thank you for cleaning up our community." And that right there, that moment, I was like, "Damn, that felt good." So I was like, that felt really good. I've never felt like that before. Somebody that I would never ever meet face to face in my addiction told me thank you. That was a that was a life changing moment for me. Even though I relapsed, uh, I still kept going with my wife until I went into the program. So at the program, because I've kind of built a life that from my work. This is the shipyards were my first work, the first place I ever worked for that I have a little pride in, and I stayed there for more than a week. I stayed there for almost 2 years, and I didn't want to lose all that, and I gained self confidence. So at the program, um, I had a manic episode. That's what they call it. Um, I went to sleep for a week because I was coming down off of meth, and I woke up a week later wanting to do some. I didn't sleep. I slept for an hour each day, waiting for the sun to come up so we can like move forward with our lives. I didn't mention before I turned myself into that program. I tried to turn myself into the federal court. It was Indigenous Peoples Day or Columbus Day. The courts were closed. My wife dropped me off in downtown because I was done. I didn't want to deal with it no more. I couldn't stop using. Um, I went to the door and I knocked on it and they were like, "It's closed." I was like, What are you talking about? I'm high. I need to go to jail. They wouldn't let me in. So the next day I went to my PO's office and I told them take me in. They wouldn't take me in. So um so I had to do something, So I turned myself in. And when I had the manic episode, it was um I just, something just clicked in my head where I had to do something with myself. I can't live like this. And then when I got off of blackout 2 weeks, during that 2 week blackout, there was 26 guys at that program inside a nice neighborhood, and we were smoking a lot of cigarettes. We were loud in the morning, loud at night, clanging the weights in the backyard. We were noisy and rude. So when I got off blackout, I told myself, look, I'm gonna get a trash can and a stick, or just my gloves, and I'm gonna go show this community that we're not all rude. I'm gonna give back to this community just to like, uh, um, call it equal. That we're noisy and we're loud and we smoke a lot, but I'm gonna clean up your neighborhood just to give back to you guys because we're not bad, we're not bad people. So that's how I got started.
Bill, I cut you off before. Go ahead.
No, I was just, there's a lot of familiar things. I mean, not so much in my life, but people I've known about how sort of gradually and almost innocently certain things begin. Like you said, you walk to school. I mean, I walked to school with a bunch of friends. Now, the difference is that, when I came home, I had at least one of my parents would be home. So I didn't have to come home to an empty house. And my parents worked really hard, like your parents worked really hard, but they were in a different, because they had education, they didn't have to work that kind of job that your parents had to work, and well, oddly enough, getting drafted in the Army was the best thing ever happened to my father because it gave him a chance to get educated. He came from an extremely poor background, but the GI Bill allowed him to go to college, and it changed everything, right? I don't exist if my father doesn't go to college because he met my mother while he was in school.
Yeah.
Little things change everything, which you seem to realize, Mr. Fung, that things that people don't think are important are important. The little things become big things. Cleaning up someone's neighborhood changes the way they see you, changes the way they see people who've offended, changes the way they treat someone. Maybe they own a business and they remember you, and they're interviewing this person who may have a past, maybe has a background, and they say, instead of sort of laughing it off and saying, hell no, I'm not even going to see this person, they say, well, let's interview them. In my work, not all of my students, but a percentage of the students I work with disadvantaged students, and some of them, not all, but some of them have passed. Some of them it's minor stuff, kid stuff or whatever you might say. Some of them it's more serious. But if you grow up in certain neighborhoods anywhere in America, you have a pretty good chance, right? A pretty decent chance something's going to happen, right? And maybe you're very lucky and it doesn't take you off your path. You manage to keep going, in the direction you meant to go. But it's easy. It's so easy. I don't think most people realize how easy it is for even very good people with the very best of intentions to find themselves being taken off the path. So you said that you found something that worked better for you than some of the other programs, at least in part because they didn't shove certain things down your throat. And that's my also sort of, I've never had to deal with these programs, but I have, once again, had friends, acquaintances, and students I work with who have been in some of these programs. And some of them it works for, right? And some of them they felt like people were trying to put them in a little box, basically, right? A little box. They take your phone, it's like going through basic training in the Army nowadays, right? They take your phone, they tell you where you can go, when you can go, and all that good stuff. When you are in what you're doing now, right, and you have freedom of movement, you have freedom of decision and things like that, and you said support around you. For you said the turning point was picking up a stick or gloves and a garbage bag or garbage can.
Yeah.
If you were trying to sort of reproduce your program and bring other people, maybe younger people, into it, how would you package it or how would you reproduce it? Because this sounds like the kind of thing people are going to want to come to you and say, hey, Stephen, we want to do this in our neighborhood, in our area. Hell, I would love to have something like this in some of the neighborhoods and the kids I work with. If someone said, I want to do this, I want to reproduce this, what would you tell them?
Reproduce like giving back?
Well, something that is, because your program sounds deceptively easy, but I'm sure it's harder than, you know what I mean? But I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it because it can't feel like boot camp, right? Because there are all these boot camps. If you want to sell a program to a state or a city, tell them it's a boot camp and they'll throw all this money at you. But there's a reason these things don't work for most young people, because the whole reason they're choosing this life is so someone's not yelling at them and telling them what to do, right? Your program isn't that. So if somebody said, I want to do what you're doing with a group of young people in Brockton, Massachusetts, in the west side of Chicago, the 6th Ward in Houston. Name a place, right? and you said, "Yeah, I'm going to come and speak, or I'm going to give you my ideas." If someone wanted what you're trying to do, what you're doing, how would you help them? I guess is what I'm trying to find out. If somebody wanted
Well,
to try to attempt it,
for I don't know. I'm not sure about kids. If I would redo it for kids, like I would have them clean up their neighborhood and get more involved with the community. That helps me. When there's when so when I clean the neighborhood, um, it gives me a little bit more pride to live there, to actually be involved and do good for it instead of like spray painting it up or or just not not doing anything productive in your neighborhood. And I feel like being productive in the community, it'll drive somebody to do better, instead of not being involved with the community and just being involved with the wrong type of people, the gangs and all that stuff that are doing negative. So for um what I'm doing right now is I for the guys that are in recovery, I'm taking them out. There's a couple of guys that I've been picking up from they're in sober living homes right now, and I was at an outpatient group, and they were talking about their problems, about how they're waiting for a job, they're waiting for school, they're just waiting. And for me, idle time is just the devil's playground, So when I sit around and not do nothing, anything. Like if I don't just go out and take a walk and pick up some trash or do something productive, anything productive, is dangerous. So I know exactly what these guys are going through. So I take them out and I take them to volunteer with me, and they're getting a lot of support because of that. And they like coming out with me. They tell me like I'd rather come out with you than sit around in the sober living house doing nothing and stressing out on jobs and all that.
right?
They could look for jobs on that, but in between time, those few minutes, those few seconds that they're not out doing anything productive, they could go relapse
Right.
any minute. So, so that's how I help the guys in recovery. For children, they don't want to pick up trash like how I do it, man. It's like I said, like on our interview before, like these kids, they could help out the world in a way better way than I can. Anybody can pick up trash. Anybody can do it. But you don't want to do it. It's nasty. It's gross. You got rats popping out of the trash. You got feces like wrapped up in clothes and
Right.
bags and bottles of piss everywhere. Um, and it's nasty. Like people don't want to do that. So if for kids to get involved with the community, um, they don't want to do what I do. I've been through, I got 5 state prison terms. I got 1 federal term. I got over 30 violations, juvenile hall, um, group home, all kinds of stuff, so whatever I did in my past doesn't work. So sometimes I babysit my wife's friend's son, and I I I drove by these big houses one time. I just tell him like, dude, like you could get this big house, but not by drug dealing. Drug dealers don't got stuff like this. You got to go to school. You got to go to college. You could take your mom out of your situation just by going to school, just by staying good. So, and I told him whatever I did, look, it's not cool. I don't have a big house. So just, and he's like at 10, 11 years old. He's at that point where, dude, he wants, so, um, yeah, man, kids don't want to do what I do. So,
Well, we're joined by Dr. Casey. Dr. Casey's not a medical doctor, but she also does a bit of counseling among some of the other hats she wears, counseling, coaching, and things like that. But Stephen, you guys actually make contact with the homeless, and you have a group of homeless people that actually volunteer with you. A lot of people are afraid or for one reason or another don't want to make contact with these people and would rather excoriate them. How do you find? I mean, uh, how do you make that connection that a lot of people don't want to make?
So the only contact, like, every other day contact is in downtown. And so we were cleaning Market Street around downtown, that East Village area. We cleaned that area 3 times. We rented U-Hauls to do that. And so I was just looking around and trying to figure out a solution to the trash. So I just thought about, okay, right here around these nice buildings, there's trash cans around these nice buildings, but around where these homeless are, they don't got trash cans. They don't have the big garbage trucks coming through and picking up their trash. So I was like, dude, like, I talked to them too. I was like, I gave them the idea. Would it help if you guys had trash service? Like someone who came around every other day to pick up your trash, like how everybody else gets their trash picked up once a week in the trash can. And there were one woman, she was like, that's a weird question to ask, but that's pretty nice of you to ask that. I was like, damn. It's on one of my posts too. I had my phone in my pocket and I recorded that conversation. And so, like, I went around there like 3 or 4 times just to like look around and figure something out. So we started picking up their trash, and eventually I got my own trash cans on the bridge on Island Street and 17th. Um, it didn't. It wasn't working. We went there twice, and the trash cans were empty. I was kind of like discouraged, right? So I wasn't gonna not. I wasn't gonna give up. So I went and talked to this dude named Run Run. I went to talk to him, and I was like, "Hey, if I gave you $20, can you keep the bridge clean? Can you put everything in the trash can?" So he helped me right away. He was like, he calls me boss man, and he was like, I got a job now. I was like, yeah, you got a job. I'll come around and give you $20 every time I come around. Um, and that worked. Like, that worked. So across the street from there, I hired another guy for $20, and they're using our trash cans. They're keeping the trash in there. But that bridge is crazy because half the litters from the residents that live there that park on that bridge. It's not all homeless trash. The residents, like, it's like they kick their trash bags out of their car when they open the door. They see homeless there, so they just feel like, oh, I'm gonna just throw a trash here too. I know it's their trash. It's not the homeless tells us that. They open up to me a lot. The homeless guys there on that street, I know them by name. And I don't know if I'm doing the right thing by giving them $20 every other day, and it's coming off of the GoFundMe. But somebody like messaged me like the other day and said that that's too much. And I was like, damn, is it? Because I don't want to do wrong with the GoFundMe money, because it's like the people's money. It's not even my money, and I don't want to do nothing wrong with it. So I let them know, and now I'm thinking, is it too much? So I don't have funds like that. It's the GoFundMe money is to further my mission, and it's to buy my box truck. I have enough for that, but if I can find a solution, like, dude, like, you give these guys a incentive to like keep it clean and give them a trash can and make them get a little self-respect and stuff. And I think it'll work, because if I was in their shoes and I was in that position to make $20 every other day just to put the trash in the trash can, I think it'll work.
Stephen, how much did you make when you worked for Prison Industries?
It's just, I think I made 12 cents an hour. Yeah,
so
12 cents an hour.
so think about that when you think about that $20 that you give to the homeless.
Yeah.
Think about when you worked for that 12 cents an hour while you were incarcerated. Uh,
I think
Dr. Casey, I know you came in kind of on the end of this conversation, but do you have any questions for Stephen or any observations that you'd like to make?
I was gonna say I think children would do the same thing, but the same $20 if presented with that type of mindset because especially if they're poor children or from low income areas because they are looking for ways to make money that they don't have to break the law for as well. So if you
Yeah.
presented it to them, they would definitely, even though it seems like a dirty work to you or that children would want to do it, if they can make some money, $20 every other day, they would definitely do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
Yeah.
that,
To
that,
to use
that's usually how that first rock sale begins, Steve. If I can make $20, and then the next day I come back to the corner and I can make $100, you know.
yeah.
So,
I mean,
uh,
it's almost like the water boys here in Atlanta and some other cities where they're outside selling water all
Yep.
day long. I mean, I
Yep.
don't know how much they make. They probably make a nice little amount if they're out there enough, but they're so aggressive that they mess up their own money. But
Yeah.
it's kind of sounds like the same type of mindset when it comes to your offering that money for the cleanup.
Yeah. Because I don't know nothing about how the city works, but all I know is they spend a lot of money on things that don't work. So like especially like with the mentally ill, like they need to help the mentally ill. Like that's a whole nother category. So like like most of the dangerous litter, most of like the feces and the all the other dangerous litter, like it's coming from the mentally ill. So like the city, like I don't know how exactly they do it, but they always say the homeless. Dude, you got different categories of homeless. You got like the homeless that don't want help. You got the homeless that are trying to look for help but don't get the right type of help. Then you got the mentally ill, which is a whole different animal. And then you got the drug addicts that's just they're just out there because they want to get high. So there's a lot of like I met all these different ones, and some of my friends are previous homeless people, and I've never been homeless, but I dealt with all types of people in my life, and cleaning up San Diego's the last few months, I ran into a lot of different homeless people, and I talked to a lot of them, and a quarter of them are trying to get help, but they're not getting the right type of help. They're just getting shoved like help that they're not looking for. Like everybody has different needs, especially the homeless. They have very specific needs. So like for me, if I was gonna attack the homeless issue, like I would get at them one by one, and deal with them one by one, not as a whole group. You can't do that.
now, another thing I wanted to ask you about because being incarcerated all your life, one of the things that one of the first things that erodes is your sense of trust in other people. How do you uh, is there a certain technique or a bridge that you use in order for these people to trust you in a way that they don't trust, like the social worker or the policeman or in many cases, people in their neighborhood?
Yeah. So I relate to them with the jail time, with the drugs, with everything. So it's funny you asked that because just a few days ago I was on that bridge, and I was talking to one of the guys there about my what I liked, what I used to do, what I did for fun before, and he was like, "Damn, you're pretty cool." I was like, "Yeah, I'm just like you, man." Like, I just give them respect. I don't never just give them like I'm not. I just be myself around them. I'm not. I don't try to tell them how to do it, how to get out of it. I give them options. I actually like ask them, "Hey, are you trying to get help?" If not, then I'll just be myself and just talk to them and just chit chat with them about whatever. And I just be myself, and they pretty much. I don't. There's only a few the mentally ill only that really like look at me all crazy. But other than that, like everybody else, they relate to me. The only difference is I'm not high. That's the only difference is. Most of them, I don't know if all of them are high,
But
but I
about
speak to most of them on drugs, you know. So that's the only difference. Like we're just the same type of people. They're just their drugs make people totally different.
tell us about your GoFundMe campaign to get a truck. I know as of Wednesday you were pretty close last week. Have you obtained your goal?
So the we were trying to get a pickup truck, um, which so No Limit Hauling, Lewis Webb, he loaned us a truck to use to do whatever we got to do because he liked what we were doing. And so we were using that truck while the GoFundMe was still low. And just last week, my in-laws let me actually donated their truck that was sitting around to me right now to use to do whatever I need to do to clean up the city. And so while we were looking for pickup trucks, we decided to change the strategy to get a box truck. Um, so we could to save money on the landfill. Landfill costs a lot. So we're gonna I'm waiting for this U-Haul place for their manager to get their seller's license. He's going through a background check, and I'm waiting on that. And so with the box truck, we get to load it, fully load it, and probably go to a landfill once a week, twice a week instead of like every other day. You know, that costs a lot of the money that I don't want to use from the GoFundMe, but we had to use it a couple of times. But the box truck it'll work way better.
Now, I was looking at some of the areas that you were cleaning up. It looked like you were in a few canyons around here. You were at some encampments as well as just by the bridge where you were talking about. Have you seen an increase in encampments since you've been doing this job?
Increase? No, it's the same. I mean, the downtown has a lot of encampments. By the zoo, there's like a little field across from the zoo that's been
Yeah,
there.
I live close to the zoo. That's up by me. I know
Yeah,
exactly.
you know that little grassy area.
It is.
Yeah, I went by there earlier after I cleaned. I went to go meditate and exercise. You know, that's kind of what I do. I do my little walks and meditate on my own. So I went to Mission Bay Mission Bay Park earlier, and it was all right. But after that, I went driving around, and the encampments, um, man, they're they're not
There's,
safe.
an,
Like
there's another big one out. There's another one that's growing out in PB. It wasn't as far. It wasn't as big as it. Well, actually, it's probably twice as big as it was last year. Uh, and usually, I'm talking about Pacific Beach, so that
Yeah,
kind of tells you what I mean. Homeless out here in California, it's much easier to be homeless, I guess, on the beach than it is to be homeless, somewhere where it's cold. But you know,
yeah. You know, I spoke to a homeless about that. So one thing about good thing about the beach for the homeless is when it gets really windy, they could actually like dig a little hole in the sand so the wind can go over them. So the wind chill won't get them at night. So that's the one good thing about the beach for them. They can actually like just dig a little trench and just like hide from the wind. Um, you know, this is a trip. So I spoke to at least out of like 50 or 100 homeless people, about at least five of them came from other states. like they shipped them here because San Diego actually has services for the homeless. So these other states actually just dropped them off here. You know, that's what happened to these like 5 people that I talked to, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. You know, because these other states, their little towns didn't have services like that. So I guess there's more people coming in from other states and getting dropped off in San Diego because the services they have here.
Now, uh, you mentioned your background as a kid. Do you find that some of the same reasons why you joined the gang that some of the homeless people band together?
Um, the homeless people, they don't really band together too tight of a group. They're together, but they don't trust each other.
Right.
They do not trust each other. They're always on the lookout for their stuff. Um, they probably band together so you know, to so they won't get messed with by the police and all that stuff. But other than that, like they're not united like that. They're not at all.
Dr. Casey, do you have anything that you'd like to discuss with Stephen?
No, I again came in on the tail end of it, but I just had a guest on one of my shows the other day that was homeless, and he spoke to me about needing to protect women that's homeless because they are at higher risk.
Yep.
So they need like mace and weapons, not weapons necessarily, but mace and other ways to protect themselves because they have such great vulnerabilities with the men and the people in the streets, both homeless and not homeless. He also discussed some of the issues within going to shelters and some of what Stephen was saying about kind of being tossed around to here and there and everywhere, and they don't always need the things that they're being offered. So it's kind of interesting to have you on today, Stephen, because I literally just had a show with a guy in Indianapolis that was homeless, and they ended up putting together a program that allowed the homeless people to get like a year of free housing and then help them to get permanent housing. So
Yeah,
hopefully, California can come up with some ideals like that because there's enough vacant homes in the world, in the country, to house homeless people. It's just the type of laws that they're going to have to take in order for that to
Yep.
happen.
Yep.
Stephen, have you applied for any type of funds from the government, or have you been contacted since your segment on CBS Channel 8?
they never contacted me, but I went to an event with the mayor and I talked to his assistant about my trash cans to not touch them. If they have any issues, please don't take them. They're mine, and they heard of me. I've been to city council meetings on Zoom, and I voiced my I asked for free dumping and all that, and some city council members actually backed me up. So District 4 is actually telling me give them a week in advance of wherever I want to drop a dumpster. Um, and that's pretty much about it. You know, like with or without their support, it's still gonna happen. I'm still gonna go out and clean up the city no matter what because I got the support from the community, and that's stronger than anything. So like uh you know, getting grants and the nonprofit and profit and you know me, that's not something that I know how to do. So I'm a hands-on person, and like and you know like for example like the nonprofit part of it, because it was I want to do a nonprofit part to help the recovering addicts to help me clean San Diego because I want to employ these guys. um you know that's one of my goals too, like to employ these healthy recovering addicts in sober living homes when they're just sitting around. They need money, but and jobs are just like felon friendly, but they're really not because some felonies have to be 2 years old, like how I got rejected before. Um, I those moments when they're job searching for a recovering addict, getting rejected is is devastating. They're addicts are emotionally unstable. So one job rejection could lead to a relapse. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to like take these people out of the sober living homes straight to work, like with no hassle. Just pull them out straight to work until they can find another job, or if they're a good worker and a bigger company comes and asks me for a good worker, I'd be like, here's my best person. He or she shows up every day, doesn't complain, works hard, take them. You know, um, but sitting around idle, recovery programs are good, but then what? So it's like they need a job. They can't just keep going to meetings. They need a job. They need to move forward with their lives. So um, I want to be able to like take people out of sober living homes and give them work to clean up the city, and then eventually they can find other jobs so they won't have to be picking up trash like me the whole time. But that picking up trash immediately will give a person a place to be, a place to show up, uh, gain a little self worth, be involved with the community. All that stuff that I'm going through, that's helping me. It could probably help another addict too. So, but it's hard. So I don't have like the knowledge of getting grants, of um, doing all this other stuff, and the nonprofit part is like really serious, so I couldn't really get into it. The Clean I Love San Diego was actually the business license was actually for power washing. That's what me and Jose wanted to do in the beginning. But then like learning about power washing, learning how to do the power washing with chemicals and containing all the water correctly, we were learning that, and we were volunteering on the side, and the volunteering just took over. It just completely took over.
Yeah,
So
well, uh, you can use me as a resource. You have my phone number, you have my email, and I'm already thinking of a couple of ideas that may be able to help you. Uh, we can even pick Dr. Casey's brain on some ideas and how to incorporate ourselves and so forth and so on. And Bill, do you have any final thoughts before we let Stephen go?
I'm mute his mic.
Yeah.
And finding out more about grant proposals. I've written grant proposals before. I've helped set up non-for-profits before. So if Stephen would like at some point to talk about any of that stuff to grow what he's doing, I'm more than happy to help. You're onto something. You already know you're onto something, because as you said, there's people, sounds like people coming towards you every day saying, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And what you're doing is so desperately needed everywhere. I mean, obviously you're starting where you are, which is what you should do, right? Cast down your buckets where you are. But I mean, what you're doing with minor modifications, I think could be replicated in almost every city in the country. So thank you so much for what you do.
yes.
Dr. Casey, any final thoughts before we let Stephen go?
I just want you to be encouraged. It takes some time sometimes to start some stuff. And even as you're growing, God will always send you signs to let you know to keep going, and He will send things to make it work for you. But the biggest thing is don't get discouraged, because it will be somewhat of an uphill battle in some cases. But hopefully, if you're able to get the city council at any point on board, it would make it easier for you to reach out to other cities and ordinances in order to help you um, get you where you really need to go. So just stay encouraged in the fight. It gets easier it just may take some time. So
Yeah.
just please don't get discouraged.
Stephen,
Oh, one more thing. There is a guy here that does work with homelessness. It's lovebeyondwalls.com or
Mhm.
.org. It's one of the two. But if you look up Love Beyond Walls, it's a guy here. His name is Terrence, and he actually has done a lot of things to help get showers and sinks and all types of stuff for the homeless in Atlanta. But it is something that he's doing nationally. So if you were able to reach out to them and get in contact with them, they may be able to help you in your efforts to get funding and get a push that you need because they have a really big backing.
Yeah, you know what? One of the big issues that the homeless are complaining to me about are the sinks, the portable sinks, and the portable bathrooms that they took away from them. They had it there for COVID, but it's gone. They're complaining about the hepatitis A outbreak out here, but the homeless are like, dude, we can't even wash our hands. They took our sinks. So
Yeah, well,
um,
again, this person was like putting together funds and money to do it himself before COVID and all of that. So he is
yeah,
definitely a good person to try to get in contact with to help with your homeless efforts to help the homeless people.
yeah,
Like he they did sinks, they had showers, they had mobile washers at one point. Now he got injured and was like out of commission for a little while, but the business and the nonprofit continued on. So I would definitely again look into Love Beyond Walls, and
love beyond walls.
they can definitely
Right here.
help you. Um, if even if it's to get you in the direction that you need to go, or to connect with them and be able to get the information and the tools that you need, maybe even get their help to expand on.
Yeah,
you
that'll
said
be
that
cool
was
to get these things.
Love Beyond Walls,
Beyond
Doctor?
walls.
Okay.
Um, man, if I could get, if I could get these guys their sinks back because they had them before, um, they will love me even more. Because man, I go over there and I give them cigarettes. I ask them if they need bags. I give them trash bags um and I just do as much as I can to improve their quality of life just a little bit. And they tell me they appreciate every time I show up.
Yeah, well, as a former incarcerated vet, Stephen, just like I said, give me a call, I'll be glad to help out in any way I can. You know, hey, I'm not too old to wield a trash bag. I can pick up trash. I might not be able to give you a big bag of cotton, but I can give you a little one now. It's so. But it was a pleasure talking with you tonight, man, and I hope to get in touch with you on a constant basis. And I'm ecstatic about the work that you do. Like I said, it was an accident kind of coming across you, but as they say, sometimes there's no such thing as an accident. Sometimes it was something that was meant to be. If it means I have to put you in touch with someone like Dr. Casey or Bill or whatever. But the main thing is to make some type of progress on this problem. So, you got any final thoughts for us before we let you go, Stephen?
Final thoughts. My GoFundMe is on my website, um cleanilovesanego.com. It's to help me. I have enough for the truck, but it's to help me with all the other expenses, with gas and with the supplies. I'm good, but with gas and the landfill, or any other expense I use for all my volunteer work. So and sometimes, like, I'm trying to, like, pull some more people from the recovery homes, but I don't want they need money, so I want to give them a few dollars here and there also to pull them out and get them out there and have them give back to the community, and hopefully they'll like it too. You know.
Yeah. like I said, most of us that have been incarcerated have worked for $12 an hour, some even less. So sometimes it's better to have your own money than to have to go and ask somebody for $1 or be standing out, on a corner with a sign saying,
Yeah.
"I am homeless. Please contribute." So I look forward to talking with you, and I look forward to having you back on the show, man.
Yep. Thank you.
I appreciate your time, and as I said, we hope you much success, and I will definitely stay in touch and let you know the outcome from Bill and Dr. Casey as far as these organizations are concerned. Uh,
Yeah,
and
that'll help.
we'll put Bill's grant writing skills. See what kind of skills he got there. Our Shakespearean writer here. We'll see. We'll see if he can turn the tide for us. So thank you so much, Stephen. I look forward to
Thank
talking
you
to
very
you.
much, Stephen.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Um, I also wanted to get Miss Bishop on. She does this beautification thing in University Heights, but they take a very different approach. And I guess even though I live in this neighborhood, you would kind of say this is a kind of bougie neighborhood, uh, in the sense that uh, our biggest community around here is Hillcrest, and it's an LGBTQ community. So this community uh, doesn't quite face the same type of um, uh, invasion. I guess you want to call it by the homeless. Here, I guess you would think of them more as a nuisance factor. Uh, but uh, the goal is to keep San Diego clean, regardless of what neighborhood it is. And it's just kind of, um, um, I can't quite find it, but there are two different approaches, and how, even though they had the same goal to clean up the neighborhood, they go about it in much different ways. One, whereas Stephen has contact with the people and has managed to establish their trust. Uh, when these people come, the homeless have a much different attitude. It's like uh, uh, driving them out, or they treat them as you would stereotypically think of a homeless person. But we'll have Miss Bishop on at a different date. And also next week, we're going to have Dr. Sarah Lou on. I'd like for you to kind of look at her background. She ran as a Republican conservative. Uh, she was a part of the recall for Governor Newsom, and I believe she's running for senator uh, here in the state of California. She'll be on next week, and you can ask her some of the questions that as you'd like. But Bill, uh, in a city like yours, how are you addressing this homeless problem, and uh, do you see any type of substantial solution within the next 2 years?
Well, we could have a solution, and we could have it sooner than that. We won't, for reasons that have some already been explained, and some I guess I could. So, about a little over 3 years ago, they made a decision to close 54 quote unquote underperforming schools. Almost all of them, in fact, no, not almost, every single one of them, predominantly Black and brown children. And the idea was to, well, one, because the city is having problems getting underneath its budget constraints. That was one of the things they were hoping would help right now, which, whatever. There's so many reasons why that is somewhat comical, but nonetheless, we're still, the lights are still on. If you drive past these closed schools, they still light them. I don't know if the heat's on, but the lights are on. They have fencing around them, and they have security still assigned to these schools. With those same schools, you could easily convert those within a matter of weeks into places that could be housing people who, especially in the wintertime, that need that. It could be done with swoop of a pen. Who would vote against it? Who would oppose it? Right? Who would be willing to go on record saying that these 54 empty buildings we're still lighting, still have security patrolling, need to stay empty as opposed to being used for something? I mean, some of it is just simple common sense stuff. But the city of Chicago, I'll stick to my city where I'm living for the moment, makes all the right noises, as many cities do, about caring for everybody and about making sure that people are treated with dignity and respect, and that you will find, your way to this place where they will help you to get your life back together, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that these places are dens of sexual assault for the women, thievery, assault, for everybody, equal opportunity. And that very often these places are woefully understaffed. There are some well-run places as well. I'm not saying all of them, but I've been, to multiples, in doing presentations and talking about opportunities to people who are there. And I can say this with no fear of contradiction. There is a tremendous amount of talent and trauma and every kind of person you'd ever want to see if you are looking at the homeless populations of any city or even rural areas. Though generally rural homelessness is a lot of the same situations, but got there differently, right? But when you're talking about urban homelessness, people who have, like a lot of young people who've been, people say runaways, but most of them are not runaways. Most of them are throwaways, James. Most of them are throwaways. There's a sprinkling of runaways, but not most of them. Most of them are throwaways. Grandma or wherever it is said, I can't afford to feed you anymore. You're 17, you're 18, whatever age you are, look how big you are, look how strong you are, or you're gay or you're trans or whatever it is, you got to go. Or just, sometimes the parents aren't able to take care of themselves, let alone children. So there's a variety of different ways, young people end up unhoused. Feather Fist is an organization that works specifically with homeless veterans. I've had a chance to partner with them on various projects that we've done together. There are programs aplenty. The issue isn't the number of programs, James. The issue is safety, right? A lot of these places have opportunities, but they can't provide safe places for people to live. Some of them are, the Band-Aid on a gunshot wound kind of situation where they're so short term that nothing can be accomplished. There are some longer term programs that are partnerships of HUD and the Chicago Housing Authority, but they are super hard to get into, right? I mean, it's the old thing about the parable about passing a camel through the eye of a needle. But if you get into these programs, it's awesome. And I've had students I've worked with that have been in those programs that eventually can move some of them to home ownership even through the family self-sufficiency program. But it's incredibly difficult to get, let me rephrase that. It's not incredibly difficult to get into FSS. It's incredibly difficult for someone who very often doesn't have any identifying documents, who, like, it's a lot of literal catch-22s. You've read the book or seen the movie, where in order to get into the program, you have to have things that if you had them, you wouldn't be homeless, right? So a lot of the things you deal with is finding a way to prove that someone is homeless, right? Okay, how do I prove that someone is homeless? There's all these things, these hoops you must jump through, James, to get into some of these. The better the program, the harder it is to get people into it, is what I've discovered in my time, James. Is that the more hoops, the tighter hoop it is, the better the program. So the good news, as you're beating your brains in when you're trying to help somebody, is, okay, the reason this is taking so long is it's such a good program. But if you can get them into it, if you manage to pass the camel who eye the needle, it's life-changing. It shouldn't be that hard, James. But there are solutions that are potentially easy, but no one wants to do it.
Yeah. Dr. Casey, have you come across the same? I think you may be muted. You're muted, and then we didn't mute you, or else your sound is low one. Maybe it's your volume.
So maybe a technical difficulty, perhaps.
Yeah, we lost Dr. Casey for a moment there. But Bill, I've been meaning to pick your brain about a few grants, so I'll definitely be in touch with you about the grant writing, especially when it comes to the project that Stephen is involved in.
Yep.
This, like I said, this is something that is very easy for me to get involved in out here in San Diego, and it just might have been something that was just meant to be. But Brother Williams is in the Philippines.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So have you heard from him, Bill?
I mean, just an email, sort of saying I'm still in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get it.
I heard from Demetrius, and as you probably know, his wife has been moved to hospice.
Yeah.
And we are just hoping, that it's as easy a transition as it possibly can be. When you know that the situation isn't going to get any better, then you have to find, I guess, the easiest way to kind of swallow that bitter pill. But Bill, I will also be getting in touch with you because there is a lot of things that have been moving around in our sports world. So
yes,
hopefully, hopefully we can get you in Wednesday. So Dr. Casey is back. Dr. Casey.
Unfortunately, she's purchasing the same internet that Don has. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Yes.
So can you hear us now, Dr. Casey?
She can hear us. The issue is us hearing her.
Yeah, yes. we still can't hear. We still can't hear you. We need one of those little ladies on the side that can do the
you're an interpreter? Yeah, I would just take a look at this. I wonder if there's something in her audio settings. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. Well, you look wonderful, Dr. Casey. It's good to see you. Oh, she says not her. Okay, I don't know what it is then. So she says she runs like some diagnostics, and she says that her. So I guess she's able to hear herself, but we're not able to hear her. I guess.
And she can hear us.
Right. Okay. So it's only StreamYard. Oh, okay. Dr. Casey, what browser are you using? What web browser? Okay, she's going to type that in the chat, I'm assuming. And Chrome. Huh.
Yeah, I'm using Chrome.
I
I'm
was going to
using
say
Chrome.
Chrome's usually okay. As an experiment, just what the heck? What can it hurt? Do you also have Firefox, Dr. Casey? Is that an option for you?
No,
Chrome usually works though, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I use Chrome all the time.
Right.
I like Chrome. So
I had problems with some browsers, but usually either Chrome or Firefox work well for me.
Yeah.
Some of the other browsers, not so much.
Yeah, I have a problem with Firefox every now and then, but I particularly use Chrome. But
yeah, Chrome usually works. See, I was hoping she'd say something like Internet Explorer. We'd have a solution.
Says she only has problems. She only has problems with StreamYard.
Only problems. I wonder if she has super tight. I wonder if she has super tight security settings. So, Dr. Casey, since you can hear me, if you go to where you see the URL and there's the two little permissions area right behind what looks like the little movie camera, just in case, click on that and see what your permissions are for StreamYard. And if it's something simple like, oh, it's blocking something or not allowing something, then you can simply say, yes, allow that. That'd be great if it was something simple.
Well, no, Dr. Casey has all the bells and whistles and
Oh, I don't think it's a bells and whistles issue. I'm just trying to work through. Yeah,
it was
right.
it was working at the start. We know.
Yes. So I'm trying to figure out what.
Yeah. Well, at least I guess getting to spend some time with you is better than spending no time at all, right?
There you go. That's good. Put a bright side on this thing. Oh, give me a second.
Y'all continue with the show. Well, we were getting ready to actually call it an evening. We know that Brother Williams is in the Philippines.
Yes.
Not sure whether it was on business or pleasure or a combination of both. I'm very surprised that Mr. Scott isn't here. Usually it's a pair. And Miss Sims, I was definitely trying to get in touch with them because I still want to do the show on Boys from the North, as well as get some of those coaches in. And as I was saying, right now, Minneapolis is actually a very hot spot in the sporting community, having two championship fights there. As a matter of fact, the great trainer Ronnie Shields, who's has been on my boxing show, trains one of the fighters there, as well as Mr. Cicero Fort, who's all been on the show already and on our sports show, and champion Caleb Truax, also from Minnesota. So I'm trying to get some good stories, some feel-good stories in from Minnesota, since Dr. Casey and everyone from Minneapolis always accuse me of being so negative. But there, I just would like to have a different perspective, not only of the city of Minneapolis, but many other cities. I'm trying to get in touch with people that are doing things like Stephen in other cities, and showing that there is a sense of unity. As pessimistic as I might be, maybe things will be better. But I've been saying bye and bye for so long. It's like, I'm kind of ready to just say bye. you know, But hey, we've lit the fires before. That didn't work. We've tried legislation. That didn't work. So, somewhere I guess there is that middle ground. But Bill, why don't you give us your final thoughts since we can't get Dr. Casey back in here?
Yes. Well, my first thought is, Dr. Casey, once again, though I cannot hear you, it is a treat always, at least to see you. I am enjoying being able to at least look upon you. It is indeed a joy. It is indeed a privilege. Um, I have many things that have, since last we've been together, I've lost two friends too young. Jay Wallace, I believe, may have just been 50, maybe 51 at the most. And former athlete, played wide receiver, was a walk-on wide receiver at Hampton University, worked his way eventually up to being a valuable contributor on the team, engaged to be married, a lot of great things that were planned and about to happen in his life, and just taken up from us way too soon. And Angel Young, who's a very good friend of my lady friend, was even younger, right? I think in her late 40s, and with two young sons, one of whom is an adult, one of whom is still in school, and just both of them gone like that. In the case of Jason, pronounced when he arrived at the hospital, and Angel, lingered for a few days, so at least everyone got to say goodbye. But it's a reminder: one, Black people, go see the damn doctor. And I'm talking to myself as well. I do not go to the doctor as often as I need to. This was a wake up for me, as it was for everyone else. Hopefully around, we do not go, and there's reasons. I mean, there's a bunch of like structural and social reasons. Also, it's not all on us, but despite all of the things that they put between us and decent medical care, go see the doctor. That's one thing that has slapped me upside the head hard recently. The other thing is, I got to, since last night, I spent, almost a week at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, and it's like any other tightly concentrated business, sports business, media sports, media business, media sports business environment, right? It is, there's a little bit of like sort of that hunger of pursuit kind of thing, people trying to get the story. There's these young men who are on the precipice, many of them of greatness, and some of them of the end of their dream. They don't know that yet, obviously, right? Because you don't know that going in. There's all this, it's everything, right? And it's a job convention. Everyone there who's out of the league, trying to get back into the league as a coach or a scout or a GM is there. Derek Carr rented a Airbnb down there to facilitate taking meetings, and eventually, I heard a couple of days before it actually hit the public, I heard on the QT, as they say, or whatever, on the down low, that he was going to sign with the Saints, and that the Saints were very pleased with how things went and all that. So I heard the structure of an agreement was in place even days before it became official. But the thing that has really, since last we were all together, that has come to me is that we form a bunch of little communities in our lives. And even watching these young men in their position groups, right? Some of them knew each other because nowadays they have all these 7-on-7s and camps and things like that. Unlike in the old days, James, when you hated these people, they were, your enemies, your competition, and then you would see them in these situations that it would take a while for people to sort of try to coalesce. Cohesion is much quicker and much easier now because of all these opportunities that young men get as their athletes. Like I said, through all the different, I go to the same speed camp or the same private coaching for playing corner or playing quarterback or playing defensive line or playing whatever position. So some of those walls that were up when you and I were athletes between people from different schools are not really up anymore. But you see these little communities of choice is what I call them. Communities of choice around us all the time. We don't get to choose our families, right? Obviously, we would probably choose differently if we could. Some of us might choose differently if we could. I've been very lucky. My family, I probably would choose them if I could. But I know people who aren't as lucky as I am. But whether it be in our job, our professional lives, whether it be in our personal lives, whether it be in our hobby lives or interest lives, these little communities of choice that surround us. And sometimes they're around us more than our families, sometimes, or around us differently from our family. I want us to just realize how important and how vital it is to let the people in your communities of choice, like my friend James King, like the wonderful, beautiful, but unfortunately silent Dr. Casey, who is,
Look at
bringing.
that smile. Look at that smile, boy.
See, look at that. It makes it worth it. It makes it worth it. It's almost worth it just to bask in the glow of that beautiful, beautiful smile. The word for smile in Spanish is sonrisa, right? That's one of my favorite words in Spanish is sonrisa, which means smile, right? What a beautiful term, right? It's to describe a beautiful woman's smile, sonrisa. But the communities of choice around us, I want to honor this community of choice. I don't always have time for it, right? Because of work, family, travel, whatever. But I want to let each of you know that I appreciate the time that we spend together and that I'm always enriched by the time we spend together. So I thank you so much for your attention, for your talent, and for your time. Both you, James, and obviously, once again, the beautiful, the wonderful, and unfortunately very silent Dr. Casey. I thank you so much.
Oh my goodness! I don't know. Just when I thought we needed Mr. Scott, Bill comes up with the Shakespearean side of him and dedicates the show to Dr. Casey. So,
as we always should, James. As we always should.
As we always should. Yes. As a matter of fact, I don't know. I haven't seen those cheeks there since the first time she's been on the show. Yeah. But hey, just showing you some love, Dr. Casey. So and letting you know that we appreciate you. But I just want everyone to think about Stephen and how here's a man who his love of the community is so deep that he finds absolution as well as a saving grace in the mere action of picking up trash and keeping his community clean. It doesn't. I mean, he doesn't want to be a politician. He's not trying to raise. He's not trying to go to Washington. He's not trying to go to Sacramento. He just wants to go to his neighborhood and keep it clean.
Yep.
Such a simple act.
Yes.
That brings so much gratification. Just think about that. You don't have to do. Sometimes it's just the little things. Like the final word from Dr. Casey, which we won't have tonight. But but anyway, have a great night, y'all, and we'll see you next week. Perhaps Miss Sims will be in, as well as Brother Williams will be back from the Philippines.
Back from the Philippines, yeah.
So have a great night, and look forward to talking to you next week. As I said, we'll have the conservative candidate, Dr. Sarah Lou. So I look forward to some of the questions that you may have for her. So have a great night. I look forward to it.
Okay. Yep.
All right.